Welcome to the Leadership Journal with your hosts, Nick Helgett and Robbie Woodard,
where we cover our journey, struggles, and obstacles that we have overcome, and moments in our careers that have led to growth. Here on Table Talk each week, where we break down various topics and journals of our trials and tribulations.
Welcome to the Leadership Podcast with your host, Nick Helgett, Robbie Woodard, and our special guest, Jed Stoltz. Today we're going to go over a topic that we've touched on in a previous episode, and we're going to talk about employees first, and the idea that a lot of companies are customer service orientated, right? Mm-hmm. Do everything. The customers are always right. Do everything for your customer to make them happy. That idea seems to be a little bit flawed.
Why? Because
if you take care of your employees, right, you make sure that they're well-being. Oh my God, you guys!
No, it's not, it's not you. It was Robbie. His why? It made me think of improv and
oh Jesus, guys.
Sorry.
So the main reason I asked you that question of why is like Jed broke it down in our episode about leadership styles.
Yeah, and I started to lose myself in that. I started to lose my train of thought.
Where we were covering as to why it's important to focus on the different aspects of your company. And one of the points I had made was talking about how stores put all this effort into the market manager coming in, or the divisional manager, like the big guys, but they forget about the thousands of customers that come in their store every day that see the effort being put in place that are more important than one or two people that only
happened
if I remember that conversation, and I think I challenged it a little bit.
And yeah, you did, because I misworded what I was trying to say, and I think this really covers it.
If you've got a buyer that comes in to your manufacturing facility and they see happy employees and that are super engaged, that's more meaningful than that product that's rolling down the line.
Exactly. And like my point that I was trying to make in a previous episode was, if you put all the effort and manpower into making it pretty for one thing, you're taking away people's days. You're making more hours on the docket. You're spending more money for something that means a lot less than that person's work-life balance, that one person's ability to have a life outside of work, their own ability to focus on what makes them want to be in your building. And that's not customer-centered at all. That's company-centered mindsets.
And I don't want it to be cliche, but the importance of employee well-being, that phrase, that well-being phrase, it's used a lot, but I think there's a ton of meaning behind it, and I think it's a good phrase.
I also think that people don't assign enough meaning to that phrase.
Yeah, I agree.
To employee well-being. I feel like a lot of times when companies or leaders talk about employee well-being, they're talking about, making sure they have a reasonable paycheck and, that they're happy at work. And that's how you get the cliched pizza party, right? Like, oh yeah, we have good employee well-being. We have, decent benefits and moderate pay, and every quarter we have a pizza party. But it goes so much deeper than those things, than even just pay or benefits. It goes so much deeper.
You ever notice that the companies that don't talk about pizza parties, but instead do barbecues or do catering events or do more impactful things that
engage with their team?
They're more engaged. They're more thoughtful. The teams are more happy. The well-being is present. Like you can feel the difference between that environment and a pizza party environment.
I love the memes that roll around about, oh, I got a pizza party instead of a bonus type thing, And then, so I try not to be cliche with my team, and I try not to, do pizza parties. I try to get input from the team. What would you guys like to do for a celebration? Let's celebrate how good things have been going. And lo and behold, why can't we have pizza?
I know you called me when you were on a pizza run, and I was like, "You're on a pizza run?" Yeah, my team wanted pizza. That they wanted? Okay, hey, they wanted it. Fine, cool. More power to them. They wanted it.
So, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to take a moment and ask, since I said the statement earlier that well-being goes so much beyond just pay and benefits, what does employee well-being look like to you guys as leaders?
I want Nick to go first.
Oh man. There's so much to it. It's part of it is engagement, learning your team, like getting to know your team members. Because sometimes sometimes you get somebody that comes in and you've built a trust with them, and they come and they vent for 5 minutes and say, this thing is going, I'm having a rough day with my wife, or, my kid's sick or whatever. And you can have compassion for that person for that day, and, do something that's impactful to them. Like, let's move you over here for today, or if you have the ability to let them have the day off or something like that, you can do something that is impactful to their well-being, so they can focus on what's troubling them, and that way when they do come back to work, or they have that 5 minutes to vent, they can now focus on doing a good quality, safe job, and you're lowering that risk that their mind's not on task, is what we like to often say at my work, and they're not distracted, and then it also shows that you care. So it helps them get into a better headspace.
What about you, Robbie? What does employee well-being mean to you?
So for me, and everyone doesn't know this, people in this room know this, but I'm an avid Cubs fan. I'm an avid baseball fan, have been for the majority of my life.
Everybody's entitled to be wrong.
Everyone's entitled to have their opinions about sports. Okay.
Just kidding.
Mine just happens
Shots
to be
fired.
just ouch. But when I put this out there, because in teams that I've been involved in where the employee well-being is not felt, I can walk in, wear a Cubs jersey, and it's whatever. They look at their manager and they go, oh, he's one of those guys. And they feel like they're not connected to you. But I've been on teams where I've been listening to like the World Series in baseball in October, and my team is so connected to me that they throw jabs at me. Oh, the Cubs didn't make it again this year, or oh, how far did they get to failing this year, or hey, they almost made it, or hey, who's the next player on the roster?
How about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys? But when you look at like a team that's got well-being in mind, you're focused on the person. You've got their genuine ability to be themselves at work in every capacity, because when they come to work, they matter. And that's, to me, the most important part of any kind of culture, is when you've allowed the people to feel like they can be themselves. They can share moments with each other. They can come and vent to you in the office.
Within reason, right?
Yeah, within reason. But there's a relationship that's so focused on people matter to the business, not the business matters more, that it pushes people to want to help the business be successful. We can have KPIs. We can have different safety measures. We can have all these things put in place. But if all they are is focused on company results and not how people can impact those results, then you're just running a business, not building teams to make a business work.
Well, to create longevity, to create sustainability. Mm-hmm. That's the goal, right? You want to have a company that's lasted, that can say, oh, this is our 100-year anniversary. All the people before us have built this to where we all have good, not comfortable is the right word, but good, secure jobs.
I mean, I was like, wow, words. When you look at today's workforces and you look at the decades ago, people went to work to go to work. But now they go to work because they want to feel like they're doing something that makes them matter, that adds value to their time, that they feel like they can get the most out of it. There's these corporate offices that have sent everyone away during COVID to not bring it to the office, but now they're requiring everyone to come back into the office for 40 hours a week. They're being forced to do something, and their well-being is not being put in place or not being prioritized because the company wants to have the thumb on them or some kind of pressure.
And there has to be limitations to
Yeah.
that, right? Because at the end of the day, we have a business to run.
Yes, we do. But are there meetings, or are there things we can get rid of to focus on people being more productive and enjoying their job, not just being part of the machine, not just being different facets of someone else's day? Sorry, I went on a tangent.
What does that look like to you?
I think you guys touched on a lot of what employee well-being looks like to me. I think for me, employee well-being starts with safety and security, and that's kind of a multi-pronged thing, right? It's obviously, you talked about safety policies and rules, right? That's part of it, making sure that you leave the same way that you came in, or hopefully even better. but it also means being safe and secure in your job, right? Knowing that you're going to have a place to go every day and that you're going to get a consistent paycheck, and that you're physically safe at work. You have a safe environment. You're safe to be yourself. You're safe to explore, to test those guardrails, right?
Well, and
I
be
also
creative
think,
and be and
be
try to
creative.
help implement change that you want to see in your facility.
Maybe be the change you want to see in your facility.
I like that better.
I also think that employee well-being, it means being able to experiment and explore, right? To grow, part of that safe space, having a place to grow, and it also means. Sorry, my mind just kind of went blank there mid-sentence.
You're good.
It happens.
It also means having fulfillment in what you do, having a purpose, right? Not just coming to work, like you said, Robbie, to come to work, right? And I recognize that at the end of the day, we all go to work because we need to pay our bills, right? I would be a hypocrite if I said anything different, right?
We all need money to sustain our lives outside of work.
Yeah, I've said for decades, if this was as fun as Disneyland, we'd be paying them.
Yeah.
That work is stressful. Work is sometimes boring. It's not the first place we want to go every day. And that's why we get paid to do it, because it needs to be done. And, generally speaking, people don't want to do it. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to find some sort of fulfillment and contentedness with what you do.
Yep.
And I think you guys also hit on, it's different for everybody, right? That personal nature, what makes me feel safe and secure and fulfilled, and what boundaries I might want to explore and test, and what areas I need to grow in are going to be different than yours, Robbie, or yours, Nick, or any of our team members that we work with or for, or maybe report to. And so it really is, I think what you guys were touching on really does hit up pretty much all of my points.
Well, when you think about it, there's that meme that goes around that we talked about in our origin episode. People don't leave the jobs; they leave bad bosses. We also touched
toxic cultures.
We talked about it in leader engagement. People come to work and they want to feel valued. They want to feel like there's a purpose behind them being there. That rather than just having a paycheck, they have something to look forward to. And I think ultimately, flexibility in your schedule is a big one for a lot of people.
Yep.
Or having flexible opportunities at work. If you can't have a flexible schedule, if it's set, but you can do different things. Like a lot of people don't want the same monotony every day. No one goes to work to be a data entry person and only type all day long, like we see those guys in like The Matrix or in other movies where they're in a cubicle with hundreds of people on the same floor doing the same exact job. It's monotonous. It's droning. Those days are gone. Those days are being taken. Those days are in long past, and no one wants to have that job anymore. But when you think about other places of work, other places of employment, how can they be more fulfilling? How can they challenge somebody? How can you go to the next opportunity and see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, and I think it's really, it's one of the things we touched on in the Three Worlds episode is work-life balance, right? Having that personal time. And that goes for your hourly employees too. It's not just the leader needing to block out 30 minutes to have a bite to eat. It's so vitally important to have some sort of a semblance of work-life balance, so that you can be away from work, decompress, be with your family, or whatever it is that you like to do. Maybe it's hang out with your pet or whatever it is that you find fulfilling outside of work. You need to have the time to do that. And sometimes, depending on where you work, schedules can be tough. Like I work a rotating schedule, 2 days, 2 nights, and my staff a lot of times will work overtime on top of that. So they're constantly flip-flopping back and forth. And so it's vitally important that when you have a tough schedule like that, to encourage your people, and that's part of getting to know them, the engagement piece of like getting to know them, so you can encourage them. Hey, I know you like hiking. It's supposed to be sunny this week. You're going to go out and find a new trail or and have those conversations so that it's not all about work.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps people's mindset. And it's not all of a sudden, today's not so bad because now I have something. You're right. I have something to look forward to. Cool. I've been wanting to hike that one trail or whatever it is that, they find fulfilling in their personal life. And so I think it's important to, within reason, within, business needs, to help your employees realize that it's not all about work,
Well, I think even within the context of work, there's lots that we can do to help our employees through, the drudgery, like you talked about, everyone in the same room, typing away their keyboards in their cubicles quietly, that drum of the office space from TV and movies, right? There's lots that we can do to help out with that. And I think this is, for me, fits into the category of employee well-being as well. Things like, I have an employee who works for me who, he's young. I think he just turned 21 a few months ago, and he really wants to be a millwright. That's his goal. And right now he's working as a production worker on the mill floor, and he makes pretty good money doing what he does. He makes a lot more than I did when I was 21. And a lot of people would be content in that role, right? Because of the money, even if they didn't actually like the job, like, where are you going to get a job that pays what this pays?
Mm-hmm.
And just be miserable, right? I think we've all seen it. We've all experienced that person who's been in a role for so long that in their eyes, there's no way out, and they hate their lives, and they're miserable at work every day, and they'll tell you that, right? They hate coming to this place.
I've actually got a good story about that.
But, we were able to connect, and he's not that way. I should clarify. This individual is not there.
Right.
I'll say yet, right? Hopefully he never gets there, but at this point, he's not in that spot in his career. But by talking to him, engaging with him, learning about who he is as a person, not just as an employee, right? We learned where he wants to go and found out that we can help connect him with that, right? We have the resources available to push him in that direction. And we connected him with those resources, and he's still a production worker on the floor right now, waiting for his opportunity. But every single week, he goes and he talks to HR and says, hey, is there an apprenticeship spot open yet? And how do I get in? Every single week. He knew what he wanted. He didn't know how to get there. And we helped connect those dots for him. And with our goal is to help him have the career that he wanted to have.
Yep.
And because we could do that for him. And to me, that's part of that well-being as well, is coming to work and enjoying what you do to the fullest extent. Again, it's work, right? It's work. But when you can find something that you're good at and that you enjoy and that brings value to your coworkers or your company, that's big. I mean, that goes a long, long way toward making everything else manageable.
Yeah. I mean, I've had 2 employees now that I encouraged. So they were becoming problem performers. And so I started having one-on-ones with them and trying to figure out what it is they, what makes them tick. They were both in their early 20s. Both lived with their parents. No kids. One had a girlfriend, the other one was single.
Mm-hmm.
And I started asking, so, like, what are you looking for? Because I knew they were starting to not be a fit for the facility. Just based on some of their actions and decisions they were making. And instead of initially just coming down and start, well, you're not meeting expectations, so we're going to write you up.
Yeah, you're never going to get there if you don't do better in this job.
Right. I found out that both of them wanted to go back to school. And sure, it doesn't pay dividends in the end for the company. But both of them have left. They're both, one of them's pursuing to be an anesthesiologist. Like, holy crap. Yeah. Why work in a mill if that's what you want to do? Be a healthcare provider. Heck yeah. You're at the point in your life that it makes sense. You can chase that dream. Don't wait until you're 40 and got 2 kids and you can't afford to make that kind of a life decision.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them, to my knowledge, from the last time I heard from both of them, they're both doing well in school, and they are following the path that they want to follow. And I feel like if I wouldn't have encouraged them, they would have gone down, continue to be, lose less productive at work. We start going down the progressive discipline road and all those kinds of things. And that can be defeating to a person, especially a young person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt I was doing what was best for them and for us.
Well, yeah, you really were, because ultimately at some point they're going to join the negativity, and they're going to lose all gumption and motivation to be themselves.
Yep. And so I'm very proud of the fact that I was able to help somebody make that decision and start going down the path that's right for them and what they're passionate about and what they want to do. The other one wanted to go to school to be a jewelry maker. Like, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Chase it. Like, if I would have came, I did the same thing while I was at my previous role, and I went to my supervisor, which was you, and I said, I want to be at the next step. How do I get there? And so we started working on it, and in 6 months I got to the next step.
Yeah, and I'm not envious of you taking that step. I was just very like, man, I'm losing one of my inspiring leads, one of the people that I've enjoyed talking to the most, but I get to see them take the next step, and I'm proud of you for it.
And you got to be an integral part of that process.
That's the bittersweet part of leadership sometimes, right? You help your team grow, you help them learn what they are capable of, and you help push them in the direction they want to go in, and then they take that step, and unfortunately they leave you behind, and sometimes leave a hole that's really, really hard to fill. But it's so rewarding knowing that you had a hand in that you helped them get where they wanted to go. Like you, Nick, I had a similar kind of story where I had a supervisor who knew that I had aspirations of getting into people leadership from the role I was in. And he left the company before I could realize that goal. And I think it was a year later, roughly, he called me up out of the blue and said, hey, I've got a position available at this company that I'm working for now in people leadership, and I think you'd be perfect for it. Why don't you come and work for me? And I did. And I remember a year after that, we were still working together, and he made the comment to me once. He said, we sat down in your last performance review at the previous company, and I told you that my goal for the year was to help you get promoted, and I was gonna stick to that whether I still worked there or not. Right? That was a leader who cared about my well-being, who cared about what I wanted to do, what my goals were in life and in my career. And even though we didn't work together for almost a year, he knew that was what I wanted, and he reached out and he helped me make that a reality.
Yeah. And it goes back to one of your favorite words to say, Nick, is it's paramount that a leader does what they say they're going to do.
Yep.
If you invest in your team members, you invest in your direct reports, and you do exactly what you say you're going to do, whether or not you are the result that they get to their end goal, but you've invested time in them, you have put that person front and center, you've prioritized their well-being, you've prioritized their willingness to want to come to work and do more, and you've unlocked their potential. It doesn't get easier. I've helped 12 people take the next step, whether that be from team member to supervisor to other roles, to other companies. And it's wonderful and fun to watch them get to that next step. I talk to a couple of them still, but it makes me feel good to know that I've been successful enough to help somebody else get to my equal level or be better than me. All right, so when we're looking at like balancing work life, and we're going past just helping people in the mentorship phases and the career opportunities and like training aspects, the other important part is recognition and appreciation. And we already talked about like pizza parties. We talked about different ways to have the employees pick what they're looking forward to. There have been a couple stores that I worked in for one of my previous employers where they did like catering boxes of food from barbecue down the street, or different catering venues for different, not huge formal meals, but think Thanksgiving style, serve yourself from trays and whatnot. And I think those are super cool to have those moments, those opportunities for your team, because what it says is you've prioritized them enjoying the fruits of their labors, rather than just, here's 30 pizzas, 10 of them are cheese, 10 are pepperoni, 10 are 5 are vegetarian, and then 10 are all meat. So it's giving them that opportunity to really feel comfortable with what they're enjoying for their appreciation. But what are the other ways that we can look at appreciation for our teams that go the extra mile, or are small, heartfelt tokens that really emphasize the importance of the person being there?
Even just staying within the theme of food, right? We talked about pizza parties several times because it's that old trope, right? Oh, we got you everyone's pizza. It's in the break room. We appreciate you. And it doesn't come across as sincere. But, some people, I would say maybe even a lot of people, really do appreciate food when it's provided. And one of the things that you can do, if this is appropriate in your workplace and it's something that you're allowed to do, it's something I've done, is cook for your team. I even at work, I've got a team of roughly 40 people who report to me, and my partner at work and I a couple times have cooked for our crew, even going to the chef store and buying 20 pounds of meat and a bunch of ingredients and grilling taco meat on a Blackstone in the welding shop for the team, And it seemed like one of those things, I'll be honest, at the time, I 100% had in the back of my brain, oh, this is just pizza, but different. And I can't tell you how much appreciation I got from the employees when they were eating it. People were blown away. They were so happy. They were so thankful, because I don't think it was the food on its own, right? But we took the time out of our day to put effort into it. We actually cooked food for them at work. It took us a couple hours to get everything done, and we put it all out there. It didn't cost them anything, and honestly, it didn't cost us that much.
Mm-hmm.
I was shocked at how little money it cost. I mean, we fed good tacos to that crew of 40 people for less money than I have spent on a dinner for 2 at a medium restaurant.
Yeah.
I mean, it is surprisingly affordable to get decent food from, like a restaurant supply store or something like that, and just cook for a huge team.
Well, and the crazy part about that is...
But it means so much more than pizza, because you put yourself into it.
Yeah. Well,
and they recognize that.
And my favorite part about that is when you do that, they're not focused on the value of it. They're focused on the time it took and the effort you put into it, and the energy and the thoughtfulness. There was a store that I worked at, and I spent a long time on closing shifts as an assistant manager. And that is one of the hardest and most thankless jobs, is being a closing shift team member when the store is super busy. There's a lot going on, and the only focus for a lot of people is the customer at the front of the store that's leaving with their items. But when I had my inventory teams and my closing teams, I cooked burgers for one night, and I had the turkey burgers and the regular beef burgers, and the team members that I knew couldn't have beef. They had to have something else. They were blown away that I had set aside specific portions for them, because the other managers that I had would have completely forgot about that, and that knowing that they've had that experience before, but then I didn't give them the same exact experience, made me feel really good, because I made sure I included them and they got what they wanted. And the atmosphere in the environment for the next several months was a team that got to spend an hour together, just not in a busy environment, really enjoying each other's company, taking a break.
Yeah.
Because the store was closed at that point, and we got to say thank you to each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I did something very similar, and it was really rewarding for me. So, like, my team had been performing rather well for an extended period of time, and I wanted the appreciation to be from me, not from the company. And so I, out of my own pocket, I bought steaks for everybody, and I cooked them. And not to brag, but I can make a pretty good steak. And
Brag.
Yeah, brag a little bit, but I had one of my team members come up and he goes, I'm not a big ribeye fan, but he's like, I just want to tell you that was the best steak I've ever had. And that right there made every last penny I put into it worth it. Like that was the biggest compliment that I could have had, and that's coming from one of my toughest team members. He's not an easy person to please. He's a very direct person. He's very by the book. This is the way we were trained. That this is how this process has to work. Type person. And for him to take a moment to share his appreciation was something I probably won't ever forget.
You know what I love about all these stories? They're all food related, which is fun to break that pizza mold and still do food for your team, but have it turn out really positively. I also love that each of us have expressed how much it touched us, how much it touched the team.
Yeah.
It's amazing how each of our stories has illustrated how rewarding it can be to you to do something like that for them, and then have someone express their gratitude to you. Like, it goes both ways, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's recognition for them and they love it, but it makes us feel so good. It almost feels selfish to do it. It feels so nice, it feels so good when they say, thank you so much for doing that. That was awesome. No one's ever cooked for us before, or that was the best steak I ever had, or no one's ever thought about my dietary preferences. It makes you feel so good as the person doing it, that it almost feels selfish that you did it at all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and I think what a lot of leaders get focused on is they get told by their boss, this is how you give appreciation to your team. But then it's the leaders that break out of that mold and they find different ways that are more creative or are more thought focused, that add the value or the difference to the teams, because ultimately it's your team. Ultimately, it's the people that you work with, and you know them better. Maybe they like tacos, maybe they like steaks, maybe they like burgers, pizza, salads, wraps, whatever it is.
I've done burgers too.
Yeah, but it's the typical manager can go, oh, just get a pizza, it's whatever. But they don't know their team.
They don't put any feeling into it.
Yeah, and ultimately, if your whole goal is prioritizing your team, you have to put something into it, and you're going to get something out of it.
I think we touched on that just a little bit in the first episode that I was on. I think we mentioned kind of the difference between a manager and a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's another great illustration of the difference between a manager and a leader. A manager says, oh, I need to do something nice for my team. What's the most cost-effective, easiest, least intrusive way to do it, right? It's all about efficiency and keeping costs down. So let's get them some pizza. It's affordable, it's quick, it's easy. It doesn't distract from the work day, right? It doesn't take very long. But a leader says, what do my people want? And how can I give it to them? How can I get them there? And does something that their team will actually appreciate, even at the cost of extra money, of higher expense or more effort on your own part.
Mm-hmm.
And my point earlier about the cost of making tacos wasn't even to say, was mostly to say that even if you are in an environment where people want you to save money, last time I did get pizza for my crew because that's what they wanted, it cost me more than making tacos.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a bit more. I would say almost double what it cost to make tacos. And they appreciated the pizza, but not on the same level, I think, as when we cooked for them.
Yep.
So even if you're looking even if you're in an environment where your boss is saying, yeah, you can't spend very much money, you can still have a meaningful food-based recognition event for less money than pizza.
Yeah.
And
with just a little bit of effort.
And all these stories really illustrate the fact that it's the importance of communication, your regular check-ins with your team, and getting that feedback and getting to know your people. That's why it's just that building relationships has to be the foundation of your leadership, because Otherwise, you're just getting pizza and it's meaningless.
Well, I think one of my strengths, one of my favorite things to do is I you called it, Nick. I love data. I love numbers. I love looking at different ways to influence certain things. But there was an event where we had done really well for when I worked with you guys. We had hit a certain milestone, and we were going to celebrate to our team, and we were told to pick something good. And I was like, I can go with pizza, or I can go with burgers. And the text I shot my boss was, hey, I can go with pizza, get it delivered, but it's going to cost you 30% more. What if I just go with this? He goes, okay, cool, go for it. So it's one of my ways of looking at, yes, I still have to run the business, but I'm saying this can help us get better boosts, but also get better returns in a different way because it's unique. It's individualistic.
It's that return on capital consumed, right? It's not just about how much money did you spend. It's what you get back from that money that you spent. And right, if you're looking at return on capital consumed, you're gonna get more out of that little extra that you spend on something a little nicer than not to pick on Domino's, but a Domino's pizza party, right? Or something kind of generic like that. You're gonna get more out of that extra capital from your employees in the long term than you would have gotten if you'd saved the money up front.
Exactly. And like when we look at inclusivity and collaboration, by having those barbecues, by having those events, or the different ways of bringing your team together for different appreciation events or team building, when you bring everyone in the same room and you're focused on that hour or even that 45 minutes and not focused on the business, you're putting them first. Even that small token, it doesn't have to be food related. It can be some kind of game, some kind of thing that everyone does to really pull everyone out of their shells and kind of get maybe the person that never sees someone from the other corner of the building, and now they get to interact with them for an hour. They're going to remember that. And then when they see them in passing, that's going to breed more positivity in the work environment because, yes, they may never see each other ever, but that one chance to see each other later on, they're going to remember that person.
Yeah, but maybe they might see each other in passing, and then it's all of a sudden, hey, Chuck, how's it going, man? You doing good today? And all of a sudden you're building that culture that that you want to have of people getting along and people, getting in touch with each other. And then when there's a problem on the floor, oh, hey, I know Chuck's a good guy. I'll go talk to Chuck.
Absolutely. It's so easy to otherize people, for lack of a better term, right? Like, oh, yeah, that's that guy from receiving, or that's that guy from accounting. Like, the heck with that guy. He's just sitting over there doing whatever, and he's in my way, and forget that those are people too, and they're just here to do their jobs.
Yeah. And
a really easy way to tear down those barriers is to get everyone in the same room for an event. And it's not going to work with everybody every time, but it's a great way to start.
Yeah.
And then you talk to each other, you get to know each other, and realize that's not that guy from receiving, that's Dan. And then you're right. You're absolutely right. Then when you need something from receiving, or receiving needs something from you, it's so much easier to start that dialogue and have that conversation in a productive way.
Because now you got a foundation.
Yeah, you started. The building blocks are there.
Yeah. One thing I kind of want to touch on that we kind of jumped ahead of, in that health and the talk about health and wellness with your employees. I see more and more from companies, they're offering, different services through, either the company or your insurance or things like that, for like wellness programs for, physical health. You got wellness programs for mental health, those kinds of things. And I think it's vitally important to, as a leader, to know what those programs are that your company offers, that your workplace offers. Because if you see somebody's, maybe John over here's going through a divorce, and you've learned that about him, and now you can connect him with these programs. Oh, we've got this wellness program. We've got this where we you can get 7 free visits for a mental health professional. And, I've been able to kind of connect that hearts and minds and saying, it's not a shameful thing to need that kind of support. I go to counseling every week. you know, and I'm not ashamed of it, and it's helped me be a better person. It's helped me be a better leader. It's helped me be a better friend. It's helped me be a better husband, father, you know, the list goes on. But I think it's vitally important to, in the right setting, in the right context, to make sure you're connecting your employees with those types of programs that are offered, because they're extremely valuable. You know, it allows you to not get stuck in that loop of negativity of, you know, well, my life sucks, and over here I'm throwing boxes. This is awful, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about that overall well-being, isn't it?
Mm.
Like, I know we've talked a lot about workplace well-being, but it's about everything, right? If you're not healthy at home, you're not going to be healthy at work.
No.
Right? And that's just the fact, right?
Yeah, you can't put your entire existence, the person that you are, you know, be defined by your job.
Oh, absolutely not.
So it's just vitally important to connect people with, or at least attempt to connect people with those resources that help them see that they're more than some production worker in a plant, or, you know, some forklift driver. You're more than that. You're a person. You have needs. You have wants in life. And once that if you can help somebody get into that better headspace, then you can start working on career development, because they're going to have a more open mind to see that.
And I think ultimately what it comes down to is, like, just even for you as a leader, taking those resources and getting to know them, not intimately, not being so engrossed in them like they become your personality, but knowing where to find them, how to pinpoint someone towards them, and having knowledge that they exist. Because there's going to be that time where there's an employee that needs one of those resources, and if you can't point them to it, then you are missing out on an opportunity to help impact their life. And I think that's a really powerful thing. That's something that I learned as a leader in one of my other roles, is just taking the second to dig in and know where everything is at. If you don't know something, connect to somebody, ask questions. Like we said in a previous episode, you don't need to know everything. You just need to know who to talk to get that information, so it's readily available and it's there.
Mm.
Yeah, one of the most valuable tools in my career has been knowing where to go to get answers more than having the answers.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when you get people in a better headspace, it kind of creates a ripple effect. You know, the idea of happy employees create happy customers. You know, so being able to connect people with those resources, being able to build good relationships, you know, like you were saying, you know, getting the whole plant together for, everybody having burgers and being able to sit down and talk to each other for an hour, that will translate into your customers being taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Because now they're less worried about this interaction they had with this receiving person or whatever, and now they're more focused on, you know what, let's knock it out of the park today and go home at the end of the shift. And at the end of the day, now our customers better taken care of, because we're watching to make sure what we're putting out the door is good quality product, and, you know, helping drive those results without saying we've got KPIs to meet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. And in some way, to me, it relates back to what I was saying earlier about, you know, if work was fun, then we'd be paying them, right?
Right.
To an I still believe that to an extent, right? I said it for years, I said it earlier, but also, I mean, how have you guys ever? And I hope really that the answer is yes. Have you ever had a job where, maybe not all the time, but there's something that you liked doing so much you would not hesitate to come in on overtime and do it, even if you didn't get paid? It's something that you enjoy and is important enough that you're like, I will absolutely, like, if you ask me to, I'll be there in a heartbeat and I'll go do it. Right. I know I've had some things in my job that are that way. And I think a big part of that comes from everything we're talking about, right? When you're fulfilled in your job, or you are safe in your job and you like what you do and you're comfortable with the people you work around, it's not such a chore anymore. And it even gets to the point where you want to do that extra thing. You want to go above and beyond because you actually kind of like it, you know? For me, recently, right, that's looked like coming in on my days off, even during my vacation, to help participate in a regulatory visit from one of our customers, right? Someone's coming to verify that we do what we say we do. And obviously we got to run our production for the day. So they need some extra hands on board to help facilitate this tour process. And nobody even had to ask me. I was like, oh, customer's coming. I'm coming in. I'm here. No one asked me. I just showed up that morning because it was important to me that we did well, and it was important enough, and I enjoyed doing it enough that I just knew I'm coming in to do this.
And you know what the coolest thing out of that specific visit was?
I had fun.
And
I had fun that day.
And I got to listen to the customer say, I am so impressed with how happy people were on the floor and how engaged they were in making sure that that you guys are running a good business. That was extremely impressive. And I was like, wow, that speaks volumes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. It's that engagement matters, and it shows to the customer. And even, Robbie, you've got a lot more experience working in stores than I do. But I mean, it's evident in the store too, right? You go to Safeway and you ask somebody for help. Oh, where are the tortillas? I can't find them, right? Must have tacos in the brain today. But, you ask where the tortillas are and you get answered with I don't know. They're probably somewhere over there or something. I don't know. You'll find them. Just keep going, right? That's not a fun experience. That's going to turn you off as a customer. And you may even start shopping a different store because I don't want to be treated that way as a customer. It's not I'm expecting someone to bend over backwards for me, but that's really the best you can do.
If you run into the employee that says, oh man, we've got like 12 different brands, we've got all these, what type of tortillas are you looking for? We've got gordillas or the smaller version, whatever. I can't think of the word,
I don't know.
But
well, there's street tacos and there's gorditas and there's burritos. And
gordita, that was the word I was looking for. But
or even just hey, you know what? They're 2 more aisles down. Take a left. They're on your right side, about a third of the way in. It shows
that you care about what that you care about the store. You care about your business.
Exactly. And when the employee cares, it makes me as a customer care because I feel good about where I'm shopping. I know that these people care, which means the product I'm getting is good. The service I got was good, and it makes me feel good knowing that they feel good.
And if they
I'm supporting a business worth supporting, and I can tell by the way that their employees behave. And if I found that they made a mistake
on something, but they are trying to provide good customer service, I'm going to give them a pass.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I won't even affect me. 100%. Just oh yeah, okay, no big deal. They're over there. That's okay. Oh, they're on my left, not my right. It's easy to do.
There was a store that I worked at. It was the first store I worked at when I became an assistant manager. I needed to fill my toy department, and I had a brand new supervisor. And if anyone has ever worked in retail, in a super center or any kind of big box retailer during the holiday season, putting a new department lead into the toy department when everyone is trying to buy it, and
I can't even imagine.
And you're short-staffed. The worst idea you can have is putting your new supervisor on nights, because that's what we typically did. We'd put a supervisor on nights to reset the counters. I made a deal with my team because they were like, "Hey, what if we set the counters during the day, and then we have someone stock them at night?" One of the things that I did was, okay, how about this happens? I'll go to nights. I'll stock every counter after you've set them all, and if you can get them all set correctly, I can come in and have no problem stocking these shelves. My boss like, there's no way that your team's gonna be able to do this in 4 days, and you're gonna be able to come in at nights and do it in 1 day. I was like, watch me. My team is that good. Watch me. Took a couple of days off because I was getting ready for my night shifts, and I gave my team the ownership of planning the set, getting everything ready to go.
There's the key.
I gave my team the authority to do the job I knew they could do without me present. I came in and I stocked the entire department in 2 days by myself. I had one helper on the second shift to help me tidy stuff up, but my team was blown away that I was able to stock everything. Our sales went up because of all the product was stocked in time for the customers' needs for the entirety of that season, starting with that week. And I heard all the reviews, all the customer comments, because as assistant you get to pull up all the customer feedback. Because I didn't pull my staff to nights, they were to help customers. They were able to help get us the sales we needed to be able to continue getting product in and out of the building when customers wanted it.
And they were probably happier that they didn't have to switch to a night shift.
Yeah, they were a lot happier to go to a night shift.
And as a leader, you knew where they added value
Yeah.
to the business. You put them where they added value.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to add value.
We really
right?
do.
We want to do that. That's a human need. I mean, it's not, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't think that's part of, Maslow's hierarchy, but that's a legitimate human need. People want to be valued,
Mm-hmm.
and that includes at work.
And it's incredible because it says, I put you first, and I know what I'm capable of, but I want to see what you can do without me. And if I had a team that I didn't have the faith in or didn't have the ability to do it, I would have been present when they were setting those counters. But I had the best team capable of doing this, that were 100% trusted. My peers who were dead set on the traditional things, like, no, give me the space to help run my team the way I know I can do this. And it turned values for me. It really helped solidify. I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was talking about. And then this is the way that I want to continue pushing, growing, and developing my teams so that they can be better in the long run.
And, in my experience, if you're doing the right things as far as hiring, training, and developing your team, when you give them that leeway to accomplish something on their own without you present, they will want to rise to the occasion. If you're hiring the right people who are a good fit for what your goal is, and they're aligned with your goal and your vision, and you have trained them and developed them and given them the tools that they need, and you say, hey, I'm not going to be here. You guys know what's expected of you. They will want to meet your expectations,
Mm-hmm.
and they will go to great lengths to do so because you've done the right things as a leader. And I don't remember who said it, but I remember being told once that if you're effective as a leader, if you're really effective as a leader, it won't matter if you're not even there. Like, your team will be so good and so self-motivated, and they'll have all the tools and all the knowledge and all the abilities that if you disappeared, they would be just as functional.
Yep.
At least for a while.
Yep. So, just kind of recap here, like the underlying theme, like if you're a new leader or even a leader that's been in position and leading teams for years, you cannot lose sight of building those relationships and building those capabilities within your team. Building that thing, utilizing those building blocks of relationships and engagement, and making sure that your team is aligned with the goals and values of not just the company but your team, but the atmosphere you've created. And so you can confidently step away for a vacation day, or you miss a day because you're sick, or you have to change shifts because the business needs you somewhere else for a couple days, and that your team's going to be just fine without you. So just especially if you're wanting to get into leadership, never lose sight of the people. Trusting and valuing your people. Coaching them when they need to be coached, building them up when they need to be built up. It's really about making that connection. What are your closing thoughts, Robbie?
Happy teams, happy customers, because ultimately when your team wants to be there and your team feels valued, when they have every tool that they maybe didn't even know that they had when they started working with you, now everything makes sense, and then your customers are going to feel it, not because of what you did, but what your team was able to push through.
Yep.
And
investing in your team will in turn invest in your customer.
Like a quick story I have is there was one of my last stores I worked at. My team knew when I was going on vacation because I would send them an email, and every one of my leaders would get this email, and it was a to-do list. And the reason I sent this out was, here are things that we need to be looking out for while I am gone, because this is what's going to help us stay successful. Not a make sure this is done, but hey, these things would help our business be that much more successful. And they would ask me when they got that email, are you going to be gone for a week? Is that why you sent this out? And then it turned into, okay, we'll see you when you get back. They didn't even ask anymore. It was just okay, we know what we got to do. We know what is needed. So it started with a little bit of please do this, to, okay, we got you. And one time I didn't send an email. They go, "Are you okay? Where's our email?" You don't need me right now. You've got it.
Yep. So invest in your people.
And it gives you dividends in the long run.
Yeah, any closing thoughts, Jed?
I don't think I could say anything to close this podcast out that's any better than what you guys said. It really is. Invest in your people, and everything will go up. Your KPIs will improve. Your productivity is going to improve. Your profitability is going to improve. Spend the time, spend the money, give your employees the best that you can give them, and they'll give you their best in return.
Exactly.
That doesn't have to be money, but if you give them your best, they will give you their best.
And with that, that'll be our discussion for the week on employees first, business second. So everyone, thank you guys for tuning in on this episode of Leadership Journey, and I'll catch you on the next week. Thank you for being here, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.